Hey everybody, JJ here, back again with another presentation in Zoom networking. It is Saturday, it's December, it's a week before Christmas, and the holiday season's upon us. One of the biggest gifts we get out of real estate are the people that we meet. We hear all the time, your network is your net worth. It's why I say we should network with intention so that we can meet quality people. This guest speaker is no exception. You meet people, you don't know who they are, but then you learn a little bit more about them. And all I know about Bud is he's got heart, character, father, husband, family man. Started as a student, became a coach. He's an entrepreneur, a business person, and he's an extremely successful real estate entrepreneur. My good friend, our guest speaker, Mr. Bud Evans. How you doing, Bud?
I'm doing great, JJ. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure. As I said earlier, the biggest gift we have are the relationships we meet. And I've met in person now, 2-3 different times. And every time with you, it's just a blast. I just love hanging out with you.
Likewise.
So, for those that don't know you, and I go to this all the time, what part of the country are you from?
I live in New Jersey, Cinnaminson, New Jersey. We're in the Philadelphia metropolitan statistical area.
Aha. So are you guys having a white Christmas right now out there?
No, man, it's been gray and rainy and just nasty here. It's 40s, and miserable.
Yeah, boy, speaking of 40s, I woke up in LA the other day. It was 37 degrees. I was like, oh my gosh. So let me ask you now, you're a coach now, you're a trainer, you're an entrepreneur, you're an investor. Have you always been into real estate? Is this something you did right out of high school, or?
No, man, I didn't find out about real estate.
What was your path? And what did you study, or what did you do after high school?
Yeah. So after high school, my parents got divorced my senior year, flat out told me, hey, we don't know what you're going to do about college. So I signed up for the military and joined the Air Force. Did that for about 34 years total. Retired in October of 2021. There was a gap there of about 13 years where I was a police officer and I was in the Air National Guard in Pennsylvania. Then after 9/11, I'd been deployed a few times, went back into the military full time on active duty from 2004 till 2021.
Wow. So how'd you go from the military into real estate? Was it something that you chose to do? Did it happen by accident? What led you into real estate?
Yeah. So in 2016, I ran for and was elected to Cinnaminson Township Committee, became the mayor, was involved in economic development, planning, zoning, and really loved it. Just found a niche, just really enjoyed during my tenure for the year and a half. I'll get to why I left in a second, but for that year and a half, we negotiated the raising of 7 buildings in a multifamily structure. We brought in a Lidl project, a German company, to build a shopping center with a couple of pad sites. We brought in a storage facility, self-storage with 2 more pad sites there, renovated a supermarket, and then talked to Marriott, and then they just closed on that shortly, a little while ago. Yeah.
Very cool. So now we met through an education program for real estate that we were both in at one point in time.
Yeah.
What led you to decide to go into real estate education versus just from where you were at as a community leader?
In 2018, I was asked to, I was getting promoted, and they asked me to take over a section in my unit. So I became the senior intelligence officer of the 111th Attack Wing in Horsham, Pennsylvania. I took it, but in order to do that, I had to resign from mayor. Well, that freed up about 40 to 50 hours a week of my life. We were working 24/7 operations already, and I was working an additional 40 to 50 hours a week as the mayor on top of that, maybe getting 4 hours of sleep a night. So it was one of the best experiences, but it was also one of the greatest things that I ever had to do, give it up, right? I was watching television one night on the operations center floor, and there was this commercial. I had thought about going into real estate for myself, met a couple of friends who were involved in real estate, and they didn't work anymore, and they were younger than I was. I was 48. So I wrote the number down on my hand and walked outside of the secure building, made a phone call. And the next thing I knew, I was in a 1-day, 2-hour seminar, followed by a 3-day class, followed by an immersion course, followed by boot camp after boot camp, met you in Dallas in 2019. And then, it's just been a ride, kind of a blur for the last 4 years.
Yeah, it's gone by quickly, it seems.
Yeah.
It's gone by quickly. So now, along the way, have you been your real estate journey? Have you been independent? Do you have a partner? Is this a family kind of thing for you, or how has this developed for you?
A little bit of all of it. I started out individually as a company, JKS Homes. It was, my first foray. I got a flip under my belt, I met up with a wholesaler and networked. Network is net worth, right? So I immediately did what they told me to do. It's the military way, right? Hey, if you start calling agents and wholesalers right now, you will do this. Great. Okay. So I got out of my immersion course, and that day I made about 5 phone calls. And the next thing I knew, I had my first flip. Closed on it November of 2018, started rehab in January of 2019, turned that into 3 rental properties, picked up 3 rental properties almost immediately thereafter while the flip was still going on, because I was still networking. I never stopped, right? Still calling agents, still calling wholesalers. Anyway, so let's fast forward a little bit. 2 years later, I was 10 wholesales, 30 flips, and 21 rental properties into it in about 2 years. And I had a friend of mine who was a private money lender who said, "Hey, how can I do what you do?" And I said, "What are you asking me?" And he said, "What would it take for me to partner with you on a portfolio?" Well, okay, no problem. 300,000, because that means I got to shut down my business. He said, "Okay, done." I went, "Excuse me?" Then he said, "Yeah, okay." So I said, I should ask for 5. He goes, "Done again." So from that point on, we did a few turnkey properties, picked up a few of those. And over the course of the last, of the second set of the 4 years, we wound up with about 100 doors. I started Aim High Properties, which has become a brand, which owns a podcast, a YouTube channel, a consulting company, a property management company, and I'm no kidding, a hair salon.
Wow.
So there's a partnership involved. My wife runs the hair salon. My son is my project manager in we do a little bit of flipping now, but for the most part, it's collecting assets and turning them into cash flowing rental properties.
Wow. So, it's almost funny as I've gotten to know you.
Yeah.
We were talking to our future guest speaker, Mel Washington, earlier, who's on the call with us right now. And, like with Mel, anyone that knows me knows what I do. I focus on the relationship. I say all the time, don't chase the deal, chase the relationship. And, as I've gotten to know you, and of course we get along great, and hanging out with you is just a party. Everybody's like, Bud's killing it. Bud's killing it. You know what he's doing. And then I hear you're now coaching. How did you go from being a student to a coach, and who are you coaching for?
Yeah. So I work with Tariq El Moussa. I got a call from, I believe it's a mutual friend of ours, Ryan Burke, call him Rye Guy. He called me one day and he was like, "Hey, listen, I'm trying to recruit for EXP Realty because I'm also a licensed agent." He was like, what is your, what are you doing in the space right now? I started to talk to him. He said, "You know what? I think I have a position for you." I jumped on the team, and it's been a great ride ever since, because I love to give back. I love to help people achieve their goals of generational wealth. And get ahead, because the one thing that I learned was, when I was growing up, nobody talked about money. Nobody talked about finances. Nobody talked about how money actually worked. Velocity banking was foreign to me. Infinite banking was foreign to me. How to make money work for you was foreign to me. And when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad back in 2018, everything changed. And when I looked at that first video, everything changed. So giving back has been a huge, and even now with some of the rental properties that we do, we're moving into more of a multifamily space. However, we're still doing Section 8 properties in Trenton. 2 reasons. Number one, for altruistic reasons. We can help people get a hand up. Okay, every person that moves into one of my properties gets a copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad, because maybe it can change their lives and maybe it won't. I provide them with a high quality property where most people are, and I'm not kidding you, Section 8 is disgusting in some cases. I put granite countertops, we switched to a color of blue. We changed our template a little bit, platinum gray walls, hardwood floors, quality bathrooms, quality, kitchens. And we help people live in a way that they should be living, as opposed to, like some people believe that slumlords are rampant through Section 8. And I've had experiences where I'm buying these properties off of these absentee owners, and it's horrible, the stuff that we have to go through to rectify the mess.
Yeah, I actually did something similar in Ohio. Of course, I live in Los Angeles, and bought a house in Ohio that was really, really beat up, and did the same thing with the hardwood floors and the granite countertops. So let's talk about BRRRR, the BRRRR method. And the topic today is BRRRR. For people that don't know, what is the BRRRR method? What does BRRRR stand for?
Sure. The BRRRR method is, very simply put, you're buying a property, you're rehabbing the property, forcing appreciation, you're renting the property to someone, you're refinancing the property, and then you're taking your money out and repeating the process. So it's BRRRR.
And is this a common process that people do? I've heard it before. Is this something you're doing yourself now? Is that correct?
Yeah. So Brandon Turner, I believe, is the one who, from Bigger Pockets, is the one who coined the phrase. And then David Green actually wrote a book about it, which is like it's literally a textbook for the BRRRR strategy if you go through it. No offense to David Green, I think it may complicate things a little bit because it's written to the smallest degree. And I don't think that you should be that detail oriented when it comes to some properties, because sometimes done is better than perfect. And if you start looking at every little detail, you get stuck in that analysis paralysis. So I do have it. It's sitting right here behind me on my bookshelf because I do read a lot. That. Right. So it is a common practice. A lot of people do it.
So what's the most challenging part about this process? Is it the acquisition? Is it, are these in your local area? Are they out of state? What are some of the challenges one can expect to encounter should they decide to start BRRRRing a property or take on this process?
If you do your preliminary research, then that takes acquisitions out of the play for being hard. So if you know where you want to work and you have an idea of like what area you want to work, you're looking at median income, the amount of renters in the area, the demographics, the racial makeup of an area. You're looking at the cost of properties, the days on the market, all that kind of stuff. What the crime rate is like? Has it gone up? Has it gone down? And then once you make a determination of what area you want to work in, you just start doing what we do, JJ, and you start networking with people, calling agents, putting them into your CRM, right? Your client resource management, or I've heard of different acronyms, the same acronym, different things, client relationship management, all that kind of stuff. It's different things, but essentially you're collecting a group of names with a group of phone numbers and a group of emails, and then constantly rotating and making phone calls and sending emails and letting them know, hey, this is my buy box. Buy box is a breakdown of exactly what you're looking for. So for me, I'll give you a quick example. My buy box in Trenton, New Jersey is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,100 square foot. We're looking at approximately 75% of the after repair value, less the rehab costs. That rehab cost can be anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 in total rehab, with an all-in cost of $120,000. So we're looking at ARVs in the $150,000 range. And that's just off my head. I don't have that open anywhere, but I've said it so many times to so many people that you start to be able to roll that off your tongue. Right. So that takes the acquisitions part of it out. Right. The two things that I find that really affect you in the BRRRR strategy the most are bad contractors. And then when you're done, bad property management.
Yeah. Yeah. I can, my first house in Ohio, right off the bat with the property I purchased, I was provided a property manager, and couldn't have been a worse marriage. We parted ways very quickly. And I think any investor knows the challenge in finding quality contractors. Rehabbing a house in Southern California right now, that's going to become my primary residence. Yeah. And it's a challenge. So we're chatting a little bit about the 6 steps to successfully BRRRR and self-manage. You want to go over those 6 steps?
Yeah, I mean, it's not too far off from the actual BRRRR strategy itself, but it's basically find a property, fund the property, fix the property, flip it. Okay. And when I say flip it, I'm not talking about selling. I'm talking about turning it into your rental property company. Then you're finding your tenants, and then you're managing the tenants, not the property. A major misconception with what they call property management: the entire system is broken. So when you're using an outside property manager, they are managing properties instead of managing tenants. The reason that I have long-term tenants in the properties that I manage is simply because I manage the tenant, not the property. The property will fix itself. We do inspections on that. We have, lists and checklists and processes and procedures and automations that tell us that we have to do periodic maintenance on certain things, like, go into this house every 6 months and make sure that there are certain things being done, like the filters are changed in the HVAC system. Make sure that if they have a dryer hookup in their house, most of my houses have dryer hookups in them. Most of them. It depends on the person, right? If the person breaks the dryer or does something really stupid, well, I'm going to pull the appliances out of there and let them use the laundromat down the street. It's unfortunate that happens, but it does happen. You're checking to see exactly how they're taking care of your property, because that every year Section 8 will come out and reinspect your property, or depending on the municipality, they'll come out and reinspect the property. Anyway, so I'm sorry, I was going down a path there and I forgot my actual point, but I get excited when I talk about this stuff.
Well, and you were talking about managing the tenant.
Yeah. So yeah, the management of the tenant is the primary goal here, so that we can maintain. Our goal is to maintain tenants for some 5 or 6 years with minimal, believe it or not, minimal rent raises. There are things that we do that other people don't do. I've heard, hey, I give Amazon gift cards every Christmas and I send a birthday card to the kids on their birthdays. Great. You know what I found? They don't care. Here's what I found they like. If I say, hey, I'm going to come in, I'm going to replace the laminate countertop with a granite countertop. Is that okay? You want to excite a tenant? Tell them that you're putting granite in their house. You want to excite a tenant? Tell them that, hey, I don't like the way that boiler's running. I'm going to put you up in a hotel for a few days. We're going to replace the boiler in the middle of winter because, good enough is not good enough for me. It's got to be outstanding. So pull the boiler out, replace the boiler, send them somewhere for a few days and let them have a little bit of fun on you. That's a heck of a lot better than an Amazon gift card.
I like that a lot. I really do. I have a property manager in Cleveland that's taking care of my property and interfacing with my tenant. And a lot of people, when they get into buy and hold, and whether they've done the BRRRR method or they've just purchased a property that's outright been fixed by the person having done the BRRRR, there's a philosophy that to let the property manager deal with the tenant, that we don't want the tenant being even aware of who we are. Now, that sounds a little bit contradictory to what is working for you. How do you see the difference, and what do you see being the benefit of you? I mean, you still have a property manager taking care of the building, but you're interfacing with the tenant. Is that what I'm getting?
So I have Larson. Larson is my assistant in Second Street Property Management, and he has direct contact with the tenants. I do not tell them or, basically volunteer the information that I'm the owner of the building. As far as they know, I am the property manager. If they ask me if I'm the owner of the building, JJ, I don't lie. I don't appreciate people who do. So I will flat out tell them, yes, I do have an equity share in this building. If I am an equity partner, if I do own the whole thing, I will tell them, yes, I am also the owner. You have to go through the portal to report a maintenance issue. You have to go through the phone number if you want to talk to Larson. Texting is the best way to do it. If there is so you have your low level stuff, which is like, hey, I noticed that there's a light that it seems to be loose in the ceiling of such and such, right? Okay, great. That's something you put in the portal. All right. Hey, the dehumidifier in my basement doesn't look like it's working anymore. I'm seeing a little bit of moisture in the basement. That's something you go through the portal. If it's, hey, my refrigerator stopped working, that's something you're going to text, and we're going to pick that up. No kidding. Within 24 hours, you're probably going to have that thing fixed. But if it's like, hey, I have a gas leak in my house, then, and they text Lars is already, we've got our checklist. He goes, gas leak, boom, dial 911, just call 911 and get out of the house. No kidding. That's actually happened. And then they do that and the fire department comes out and thank goodness they found out that it was just a blown pilot. So, yeah, I don't lie to them and tell them that I'm not the property manager, but at the same time, I'm not going to volunteer that information because there does have to be that arm's length transaction. But I do vet every tenant myself. When I go through the process, there is a questionnaire that gets sent to every person who inquires about our apartments. Each person that inquires gets an immediate email response. And at the bottom of the email response is a pre-qualification questionnaire. It's a list of about 20 questions, essentially like, hey, have you been foreclosed on? Do you have credit cards in collection? Have you ever had a car repossessed? That kind of thing. Are you a convicted sex offender? The big ones. Then it goes into the rent on this property. You're aware of the rent on this property. Do you make 60, not including your rent? Does your salary exceed 60? Yeah, I'm sorry. With all of your expenses are only 65% of your total income. Okay. Do you make 3 times the rent? These are things that are going to disqualify people. And then if they match and they can answer, okay, I'm good on this, I'm good on this, I'm good on this, I'm good on this, and all the way down the list, then they get instructed to click the application and it will take them to our website and they can click on the appropriate apartment or apartment building that they want to live in. Sometimes we have more than one on the market at a time. They can click on that or see other ones that are available if they choose to move somewhere else. Then they fill out the application. I will not show a property unless there's a $35 application fee filed, because a background check and a credit check will be done on them prior to me picking them and actually showing them the property. And the reason is I want all of their information.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Somebody saying, hi, my name's John Jones and I'd really like to see your apartment. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But if it's my name's John Jones, here's my date of birth, here's my social security number, these are all the places I've lived. These are the three last landlords that I've had. Okay, great. No problem. Let's go with that. Now I've got all their information. I'm going to make a couple of phone calls before I set up the appointment. I tell Lars, go ahead and set up the appointment. He coordinates that and I go show the property.
Yeah. But for those that are landlords or aspiring landlords who want to get into, the buy and hold area, could you make those 20 questions available? Do you have something you can share at a later time?
Yeah, buddy. I'm going to drop the link in here. I told you when we talked about this that I might do that, and I'm going to share the 22 questions that I ask every property management company that's not me. Because I do have a property management company that I work with for my out of the area for my long distance rentals. And I'm going to show you the pre-qualification questionnaire. I will drop that link in here as well.
Yeah, that sounds excellent. With my commercial properties, I've got a few shopping centers, about, 20 doors, something like that, 20, 25 doors. I ask my commercial tenants it's in their lease that upon signing the lease, I need to get a photocopy of their driver's license. I actually find that when you've got a photocopy of someone's driver's license, they're less likely to jerk you around.
Yeah.
Is that something you've ever thought about incorporating, or
I don't really need to, only because I have all of their information anyway. Once they do that background check, I have basically their life story.
Now, I know some people have a credit check organization that they go through. There's a service for that. Other landlords like to have the individual pull their own credit. Is there a benefit versus one or the other, or what's your take on that?
So there are a couple of different things. First, I'm going to promote a couple of free sites. If you're looking to self-manage your first couple of properties, I'm going to give you a couple of sites real quick. The first one is stessa.com. That's STESSA.com. Yeah, thank you. You were going to throw that in the chat. Great. Stessa.com is assets spelled backwards, just in case you're, a visual person. Or then the other one is you can use apartments.com or you can use Zillow.com to manage your properties as well. Okay. Stessa.com is a one-stop repository of all of the things that you need. It can basically, they just started a cash account, so you can have a bank account through them as well and organize all your stuff. So they're starting to do ACH payments as well, which would So that would take away you having to have like apartments.com or Zillow, but they also do background checks and people will pay for that on their own. And, they can just plug that in and send it to you. The reason now I use Buildium, which is a pay for platform for property managers. I know some people use Appfolio. There are several others that you can use that are quality. I personally don't like Appfolio. When they asked me how many properties are you currently managing, and at the time I had just started the company, so I was like, well, what I didn't tell them was I'm going to have 20 in 3 months. And the guy was like, yeah, sorry. And he basically hung up. And I was like, well, that was rude. So I just picked up the phone and I started talking to Buildium instead. And they were like, oh, how many you got? I'm like, well, one right now, but we're looking at 20. And he was like, all right, no problem. So jumped right into that. The thing I like is the end user can pull reports, which is great. So Buildium gives us the opportunity to put our listings online through the app. Then we can have people fill out the application through the website that they have for us, which is like bud.managebuildings.com. So they can jump on there and see what we have currently available. Guys, if you look that up right now, there's nothing active. So it's just going to be a blank screen of white that just says, welcome to Second Street Property Management. So that's kind of what we do. We do everything through the app. There's a maintenance section of the app where we can go in there and have people follow that. No kidding. The cell phone app is so easy to use in Buildium that my people can go in there and just, there's a maintenance request with 2 thumbs and they're done. If we're looking at paying their rent, they can go in there and do the same thing. It's 2 buttons. All they got to do is when they sign up, we activate it for them, and then they get text messages through the app. They get emails directly or messages and communications directly through the app. It's a very simple process.
Deb, you are on with Bud Evans. What's your question?
Yeah, so I was just interested in the refinance piece of, the BRRRR strategy. If you could speak to things like what your experience has been with getting the refinancing, how long the properties have needed to be seasoned, and also, are you finding that you're able to get money out? I kind of have heard in the past that, the BRRRR strategy is great because you can refinance and, actually end up with, you buy a rental property and you once you refinance, you have money in your pocket. Could you, speak to those 2 aspects?
Absolutely. And JJ and I were talking, and I have a whole slide deck that we just felt it would be better. I felt it would be better to just walk through a deal. So that's a great segue, Deb. If it's okay with you, JJ, I'll just walk through the process that I just went through with 33 Oak, which is a single family row home in Trenton, New Jersey. Does that work? All right. So here's what I'm doing. I'm going to show you behind the scenes here what we're looking at. I got to get this thing out of the way because it always puts it right over the thing I want to talk about. All right. So first off, I use Google Drive. I also use a CRM called RealFlow. It's something that I use to track my properties and the progress that we go through. This is the due diligence section of what we do. What I do is I will pull comps for the area. So this property came to me through a call, right? We called this individual. They're an absentee owner. They had the property for a while. It was vacant. We reached out, had communications with them, talked to the person. They were in a bad way. So they really wanted to get rid of the property. We were able to buy it for about $75,000. So our due diligence was we were checking Rentometer, which is okay. And we found out that average rents in that area. Now, this is the funny part. Average rents in that area at the time that we looked was about $1,400. Okay. But what we do is we go into the HUD, right? We're looking at the fair market rents in the area. So we're looking at 2023 fair market rents. And guys, I'm walking you through the exact process that we use. We're in New Jersey and we're in Mercer County. And we go to the next screen. And this is what Section 8 is currently paying for a 3-bedroom. Okay. 2022 is $1,994. Okay. And 2108. So they're the current market rents as far as Section 8 is concerned. I will tell you that in the last several months, rents in Trenton have been going through the roof. They have been outpacing, and that's primarily because people are leaving Philadelphia and New York City and cramming themselves into the small state of New Jersey, which I don't really mind. But going back to here, So now we're looking at a rent, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's $1,950 per month. Utilities not included. Bill back on the water, but I pay the sewer. Fair enough. It's about $30 a month. So what I do is I take that information, I look at the tax card. My assistant puts together a lead sheet, and you can do whatever you want, guys. All we're looking for is some basic information here. If you're using a CRM or you're using like Podio or anything that will actually pull an aggregator, so like PropStream or batch leads or anything like that, it'll pull all of this information. I just have my guys just hand jam it into this particular Excel spreadsheet. And we know what our taxes are, so we can put everything together. Again, I'm showing you how you can do this without all kinds of fancy things. What we'll do is we'll take all of that information, we'll make an assessment like, hey, is that our average rental properties are going to be somewhere between $10 and $20 per square foot to fix. Okay. And we know that from experience. And we know that we can get into a property and out of a property for under 30,000, which is our goal. Like I said, during my buy box, we're really looking to be under 50, but if we can get under 30, that's even better. We will then go to, I'm not kidding, biggerpockets.com, which I have right here. And we can run the BRRRR calculator. This is a relatively inexpensive, it's like $360 a year, I think is the current price. I'm a premium member here because I love to network through Bigger Pockets. And, I get a lot of leads and contacts through here. But so what we're looking at is a $1,950 a month income with $1,440.05 in expenses. And this property is netting about $501.95, which includes a 10% payout to the property manager, who is me. Okay. Make sure you're paying yourself. If you're managing a property, make sure you're paying yourself. Okay. Because you're doing a lot of work outside of this. And when the federal government comes tax time, they're going to be looking at, okay, what are you doing? Why are you writing this stuff off, right? If you're not paying a fee for property management, then you're not dispersing your income. You're not spreading it across the board, which makes your rate go up. Your level of income goes up, which makes your tax rate go up. Okay. We can all agree with that. Paying tax is bad. Paying tax is bad. Okay. All right. So there we go. So that's what we're looking for. And you'll notice here, Deb, to get to your point, we bought the property for $75,000. The after repair value on this property has already been confirmed at $150,000. We're refinancing out at $120,000, which leaves me a zero in the cash in column. I paid $11,000 to get into this property. Pulled the $20,000 back out. That leaves me a net of about $5,000-ish, right? I'll put that money back in my pocket. Now, one of the problems with the BRRRR strategy is if you continuously do that and you're putting 11 in, you're pulling your 11 out, you're pulling your 6 out, eventually you're going to get stuck. You're going to get caught with something that's unforeseen. You may wind up leaving $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 in the deal. And if you're okay with that, so am I. Because if you get 5, 6, 10 doors and you're doing that, you can progress and then recoup that money at a later time, or wait 2 years, refinance the property and pull all your money back out. And then you wind up with that big INF, which I love to see. INF percentage means an infinite return on my money. It means I have zero and you can't divide by zero. So it gives me an infinite return. Okay. When I put this into Stessa, by the way, I put in that I have bought this property for $1 so that I can actually see the return. Otherwise, it kind of messes up the calculations. I will tell you that my return overall on my current portfolio is 734.6%.
Nice.
Right. And that's because I still have 4 multifamily properties that we have not refinanced out of. So that means that the majority of all of my single family homes are infinite returns.
And okay. How long are you having to hold them before you can refinance? I see here it says 4 months.
Great question. It depends on your bank. It depends on the hard money lender. I'm going to give a plug to Mark Abramovich from Mears Lending Group. He's the guy who refinances pretty much all of my properties, if not all of them, pretty doggone close to all of them. And I spread the hard money around between 3 different lenders. Most recently, I used Kiavi. We had a disagreement. I can't give them a plug. I will tell you that Rehab Financial Group, I use them. I use Mears Lending as well for my hard money lender. And I also use Ground Floor Lending, which is a little bit more expensive, but I really like their portal.
Mm-hmm.
And right. So now each one of them has a different requirement, right? So Kiabi didn't care as long as I got it out of the deal and I paid them. Rehab Financial Group, it's 3 months. Ground floor lending, also 3 months. The majority of the time I am, and I don't have a problem with that. And I'll tell you why in a second, Deb, but if I'm seasoning that loan for 3 months and it's hard money, interest only loans, and I'm making payments at the end, and I can finish the rehab in a month or 2 months, then I might hold that loan for, well, right now I'm concerned that interest rates are going to go up 3% this year. It just went up a half a point and the market went crazy because we thought it was going to be, 75 basis points. It turned out to be 50. So, that was really good for the market. Numbers went up and the mortgage interest rates kind of stagnated. So that was good. All right. So that being said, if you can stomach it and hold that property for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you're getting income on that property. And then at the back end, when you refinance out of it, you have some cash just in case you're leaving stuff in there. You've got some cash in your pocket in addition, because you're saving money. You're not paying principal, you're just paying interest. And it's a substantially lower payment on hard money. Like in here, when we're in the rehab payment, right? I'm paying $534.38 in interest. Okay. As opposed to after refinance, when my mortgage is, let's see here, estimated loan amount, down payment, that's acquisition. Here's refinance, $965, right? So it's an additional $400 a month if I stay with the hard money as long as I can. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now instead of making 500, we're making 9. That's not too hard to take.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's, we're looking really good on that. So that's how I get my money back out. And then we proceed from there with, going back to here, we'll run it through our calculators. And this is proprietary calculator that I use for all my guys. One of the things that we do in our consulting company is we help people buy rental properties in this area and do all that stuff. We work on our repair estimator, and we have all of this stuff, which is also integrated with the deal analyzer. And we do have our own BRRRR analysis. The reason I'm showing you guys the bigger pockets is because the calculations are pretty much exactly the same. Okay. It's just that ours are a little different. And hey, look at that. It's the same house. Okay. So that's what we're looking at. And this is our expected 30-year value on the property at 381. Average property values are increasing by about 5% in Trenton. They're actually a little higher than that, but we like to underwrite conservatively. And I'm looking at expenses going up a little bit slower. Not right now, obviously, with 8% inflation, but we're expecting that to kind of slow down. So we do all that stuff. And once we do, we have our comps that are scheduled out. We look at those. I'm a licensed agent, so we can pull comps for the properties and do our own analysis with that. And then we'll do this is our single page budget, which is, no kidding, once we do our rehab analysis, all of the stuff will fill in here. And that gives us a draw schedule for our contractors. So everything is very smooth when we work with our contractors. All right. So now we've bought the property. We fixed it. Now we funded it. Okay. And I gave you the 3 hard money lenders. Now we're fixing it and we're going through that process here. We already talked about the seasoning period. It's not going to take me 3 months to flip a rental property. We're not flipping to the degree that normal people are, right? What happens a lot of times is you'll have someone that wants to buy a property and they want to make that rental. They over rehab the property, which increases your costs. All right. So this is the finished photos. We don't normally go with the baby blue. My contractor picked up the wrong palette from Home Depot. We do bare platinum, which is like level 1 on the grays. And he went boom and took it up and went, we'll take number 1. And the guy went, okay. And he mixed it. And this is the color that came out. So we usually do a platinum gray, but I want to show you, like, this is the average kitchen that we do. Now you notice it's a scratch and dent refrigerator. Okay. That's exactly what it is, but that is a $1,200 refrigerator in a Section 8 property. We don't put in dishwashers, garbage disposals. We don't give them washers and dryers, but we do give them hookups. We don't put ceiling fans in bedrooms. I'll tell you exactly why. I walked into one of my properties one day and Big Brother was spinning Little Brother on the ceiling fan, and two of the blades are broken. And I walked into another room where we were doing our inspection and there were clothes hanging from it with another broken blade. So when they sent in the maintenance request to fix the fans, they got replaced with little dome lights, right? So this is what we do pretty much to every one of our properties. They get a decent place to live. So we've already got our plans for their 1-year anniversary. This bathroom that I'm about to show you here, we were going to reglaze the tile and reglaze the tub. And all that means is that we're turning it from this brown and black color and we're going to make it bright white. We did paint the trim and all of that, and we replaced the commode. But now we're going to go back in at the end of the first year and we're going to give her essentially a new bathroom. Okay. We're going to make that sparkle. So when she comes back, next Christmas, it's going to look a lot better than it currently does. And it still doesn't look that bad. All right. Over rehabbing is one of the things that will definitely break your budget. It'll break this budget. All right, so now we've gone through that. And now we're going to go into, so we've done the analysis. We've fixed it all up. Now we're going to flip it into rental. All right. That's where the whole process here comes into play. Like I said, I didn't want to do a bunch of slides and like make everybody's eyes bleed and bore everybody with their eyes rolling into the back of their head. So I'm just going to show you a few things here. And these are why I look at, you know what? I'm just going to leave it up here so you guys can see it. I've already got this thing memorized, so I don't care if you see the notes. That's fine. But essentially, it's a broken model, right? I look at things, especially in the property management side of this thing. We're going to flip it and we're going to find a tenant for this thing. But the property management systems, as they are currently, the companies are broken. Everybody gets paid when it should be called tenant management. I already said that, right? My program's based on this logic. It's my intent to keep people in here for 6 years because of these reasons. Okay. When a property manager screws up, who gets paid? Right? The property manager gets paid, right? If the property manager makes a mistake, they get paid. They have to turn the property, which means they get their maintenance guy out there and there's a fee for that. The maintenance guy gets paid. Guess what? There's an additional fee for the property management company because they have to track it. So they're going to charge you $50 for the maintenance, $25 for the management company. Ask me how I know. Okay. Second thing is now they turn that property. Now they've got to go out there and find you a tenant. Who gets paid? You? No, you're still not making rent, but guess what they get? The first month's rent. They get paid every time they screw up. Every time they have to send somebody out, their agent gets half, the management company gets half. So the whole process is broken in that sense. So that being said, I'm going to press on with this. That's creating your business, preparing the home. We kind of went through that. Here's how I find the perfect tenant. All right. And this is kind of the thing that I want you guys to look at when you're looking at a tenant. Would you want to work with them or would you want them working for you? Because that's essentially what they're doing. If you're managing the tenant and not managing the building, right, or the property itself, then you're hiring someone and you're hiring someone for your team. And if you look at it in that sense, like we're on a team together and you can get them to understand that, hey, if we act as a unified front here, your life is going to be a lot easier. Our life is going to be a lot easier and everything's going to work out for the best. Okay. So we're hiring an employee for a sense. So get it in your mind. Like what do you think would be your number one thing when you're hiring an employee, right? So we're looking at screening criteria here. And these are the things that, feel free to screenshot this. Hopefully you can all see it really well. Yeah. I'm just going to keep it this way. All right. You know what? Let's do it. All right. So we'll go from here and please, by all means, go ahead and screenshot that. But no prior evictions, no prior judgments, no smokers. Marijuana is legal in the state of New Jersey. If they have a medical card, there's not really too much I can do about it, but I can't ask them to smoke outside. All right. Or please use gummies, right? If you have someone who has a history of moving every year, or they just moved into the area, it's a risk. I try to mitigate that risk and I don't bring them in. So nobody new to the area as well. Multiple roommates, each one of them has to pass a credit check. Each one of them has to fill out the application individually, and each one of them will sign that lease. They've got to have verified proof of income. If they have a new job, I'm calling their employer, and their net income has to be 3 times the rent. All debts, including the rent payment, cannot be more than 65% of their total income, because if they are living at their means, they will eventually be living above their means. Now, that's Section 8 as well. Now, the one thing that I take out of there is the rent for a Section 8 person, right? Because they're getting the rent paid by the state, but they still have insurance. They get Rhino insurance from me. I send them an application, a link. They click on the link, and instead of a security deposit, they get insured for 2 months worth of rent. That's sayrhino.com. Okay. In addition to that, I also hold rllinsure.com. That's rllinsure.com. And I pull a policy on that has a $2,500 deductible and a $100,000 for anything that's outside of the norm for the normal wear and tear on a property. And that's to cover me. So if they vacate and leave and just no notice, move out, I get 2 months rent anyway. If they do a lot of damage to the interior of the house, I get 2 months rent anyway. It covers the $2,500 deductible with RLL Insure, and they pay to have the property redone. Oh, by the way, it's my guys that are doing it. It's my guys that are giving me the invoice, and it's my guys that are paying, and it's Second Street Management that's collecting the fees because they're getting a fee on top of the materials. Okay. Spread yourself across multiple lines, get yourself multiple passive income streams. You'll find your life is a lot better. All right. And then pets. Let's talk about pets. I love animals. Cats are a nightmare in an apartment, period. Cats spray. And it takes a lot of kills to get the smell out because they have high ammonia concentration. We are flipping a property right now that is absolutely disgusting. We had to rip up subfloor because of cats. Dogs usually go outside. Dogs are, if they have an accident, they have an accident in the exact same spot over and over and over again. Cats go everywhere. So cats are out. No cats, period. Dogs, 25 pounds or less. And we are prohibited by our insurance company to have 4 different breeds: Dobermans, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, and Pit Bulls. I have a Pit Bull mix. I love her. She's a rescue. She's the greatest thing in the world. She's actually my PTSD dog. So she's like, she's like a lifesaver for me, but she's one of the sweetest things in the world. But for me to insure it, it's going to cost me an additional $8,000 rider on the policy. No bueno. We're not trying to X people out of the property. And we're not trying to play to the emotional. So we're looking at, like, when we're making the description on the property, I do things like, hey, welcome to historic Trenton. That house that I showed was built in 1892. Historical? Yeah, sure. Because that's where Washington crossed the Delaware and killed the Hessians. Merry Christmas. So that particular area is a highly historical site. I list all that kind of stuff. I'm very descriptive in there, and I let people know what they're getting. So marketing ad guidelines, that's fine. That's all great. We're reaching out to the tenants, and we're playing on their, so I'll just give you a sample ad. Here, you're going to love this one. It's a beautiful home and large, comes complete with large bedrooms and a kitchen to dream for, with plenty of cabinets and counter space. Nice, open, popular floor plan with vaulted ceilings, blah, blah, blah. This is not that house that I just showed you. This is a different one. Okay. But anyway, I'm showing you exactly what we're pulling. We're pulling that tenant. We already went through their process and all of that, and how they get accepted, how they get picked up, how we vet them, why I'm doing Section 8. They get paid every month. All right. And this is how I keep them for years. Constant communication is key. I want them to know that if they have any questions at any point in time, they can drop a communication through Buildium. And if they have a question that needs immediate attention, open phone, and we'll be there for them. I do not take on, I just had someone reach out to me the other day. They want me to take over their 15 properties as a property manager. We started to have a discussion. They started telling me how to do my job. I'm going to send them an email. I really appreciate you considering me, but we're not a fit. I don't want your business. I have the right to do that as a business owner. And if they don't like it, sorry. Okay. There are certain things that I do. So for example, if you're, let's say hypothetically, market rents are now, I showed you that Section 8 rents are $2,100 roughly, and I can charge $1,950. But if the market starts to explode and rents go to $2,400, I am not going to evict someone for you so that you can raise your rents to $2,400. That is unethical. That is immoral, and I will not do it. Right? Moral and ethical business practices are, integrity first is our first core value. It's integrity, service, and excellence in all we do. And core number 4 is have fun. Have fun doing it. So that being said, now these are things that have been recommended by people, rewards, right? And we talked about this. Thank you notes, small gifts, reward the birthday, lease renewal gifts. Yeah, great. How about a simple concept? Fix something in the house, upgrade something in the house. They don't have a dishwasher in the house. They don't have a garbage disposal in the house, and you're allowed to have it. And they're showing that they are responsible and clean. Put one in. Guess what's going to happen next year anyway, especially with Section 8? They're going to increase the rents. They're going to increase your allotment, and your rents are going to go up whether you want to or not. Well, now you're getting paid for the product that you just put in the house. It's not going to cost you a dime. The other thing that I do is I don't blast 10%, 12% rental increases. I keep it small. Trenton has rules against it anyway. Section 8 does not. Section 8 tenants, they'll go, if inflation is at 8%, they're going 8%. If inflation is 8% and you're looking at market rents and you try to raise rents 10% in Trenton, somebody's going to call and you're going to wind up getting your license pulled, or they're going to tell you you can't do that. You can only go up to 5%, but I keep it at 5% anyway. So on market properties, I keep my rent raises at 5%. Why? Because every 5 years, you're increasing rents by 25%. And if you can avoid doing that at some point in time, you're going to keep your tenants for a long period of time. And I told you, my goal is to keep them there for 5 or 6 years. So if I raise their rents 5% every 5 years, right? 5% every year for 5 years, right? Goal achieved if they like that. Or, hey, if you sign a multi-year lease, I'll guarantee your rents only go up 3% for the next 6 years. Boom. Tenant for 6 years. You have cash flow and you know exactly what's going on for the next 6 years. If they decide to move out at any point in time, there's a clause in my lease that gives them an option to do that, but it's going to cost them 2 months rent. Plus, then I'm going to hit their insurance policy for 2 months rent. Okay. So they're going to pay me plus, say Rhino is going to pay me for them vacating early. But that's now, guys, I told you about the questions that I was going to ask. Everything's in Google, right? Everything's in Google. It's awesome. I love Google Drive because I can put everything right in my Google Drive and everybody has access to it. And I can take links, which I'm about to do in a couple of minutes, but screenshot these questions. And then I'm going to open up another document. I'm going to show you why I ask these questions. So I'm going to go in here, shared drive, 2nd Street Property Management. This is where the checklists and processes live. Anyone who looks at these questions knows exactly what I'm looking for, specifically for each one of my apartments. And if they can answer these questions honestly and they can get through them, okay, great. Fill out the application. You're not going to have a problem. I make sure that everybody gets these when I go into, let's see, different companies, right? Nope, code 3, 2nd Street Property Management, Mark Abramovich. Okay, there we go. Anyway, when I compose a new email, tenant pre-screening questions, and the application link goes into every email. Mark freaked out the other day when I communicated to him through 2nd Street Property Management instead of my Aim High Properties account. So he's chatting me up right now, as a matter of fact. He got a little confused. He was wondering what the heck was going on. Why did I send him a link to pre-screening questionnaire? Dude, sorry, man. You sent me an email. He sent me an email right here. He made an introduction. I replied through that email and he was curious. So anyway, so that's the pre-screening questions. Let me go back to this because this is, okay. So here we go. Now, the questions that I just had you, these are the 22 questions that I ask property managers, long distance property managers, okay? Or when I was using the property management company in New Jersey before I started my own, because they failed to communicate with me. If they would have answered these questions correctly, I wouldn't have had a problem. All right. So do they personally own rentals? Why? Because then they understand the industry. They know exactly what I'm going to be going through every time they lack communication, every time that I'm expecting the rents to come in on the 15th and I don't get them. If they're not calling me and telling me why, or they're not sending me an email or a text message or anything, I mean, for crying out loud, how much communication availability is there right now in the world with Facebook Messenger? I mean, just pick a platform. I'm on all of them, right? You can send me a YouTube chat message and I'll get it, okay? Because everybody's monitoring all that stuff. Make a comment on a post, for crying out loud. Hey, bud, rent's going to be late. Nothing. I got nothing, okay? And my rents didn't come in on the 15th and I didn't know why. And guess what happened? I have bills that are due on the 16th, 17th, and 18th. But guess what happened to those bills? Because I used Profit First Accounting and I was transferring things out of that income account and I was putting things in OPEX. I didn't have anything to put in OPEX. I do my bills on the 1st and 15th. They bounced. Okay. So I went crazy. All right. That being said, how long are they in the business? Why? Because new managers, new problems. Do they do anything else? Or are they 100% management company? If they're a construction company that owns a property management company, that's a red flag for me, right? Because they've got split attention. Do they have office space, or are they like me, where everything is online and they don't have to pay rent to somebody for an office? I have a commercial multifamily property building with it's mixed use. I have a commercial office in that building, but if I take it, I'm not getting the $600 a month in rent that I could be getting. And oh, by the way, my real estate agent, he's virtual. He's the guy who does my leasing up. My assistant, he's in the Philippines. He doesn't need to be in the office. I don't need to be in the office. I work in my basement. So why does that matter? Because I can charge 10%. You don't have to worry about my expenses going up. And other ways that I work, there are other things that I do as well. How many employees do I have? Because more employees, more communications issues. Hey, we've got 4 people that are working on Bud's portfolio. Great. Well, who's dealing with this problem? Oh, I thought Derek had it. Oh, I thought Amy had it. Oh, I thought Stephanie had it. Oh, no, nobody replied to Bud in Buildium. It's been in there for 2 days. And now we have a CO problem because nobody filed the inspection report. That's a problem. Are they well-versed in ACH only? I do not take money orders. I do not take checks. It is an ACH only, or you can go onto the account and you can put in your routing and accounting number from your checking account, and you must have a credit card backup, period. Because if this bounces, I'm taking it from here and you're getting charged for the bounce. Preventative maintenance, are they reactive or do they do it first? Do they know the difference between a minor repair and a major repair? I know it sounds stupid, but it's absolutely true. I had someone to tell me that I needed to replace my boiler. So I sent my plumber out and all you needed was, there was a valve problem. The valve cost me about, with his time, cost me about $65. A boiler is $8,000. Okay. Now the $8,000 also includes their markup, their materials markup, their contractor, plus their fee. Okay. So just keep that in mind. What's the current occupancy rate? If it's less than 90%, big red flag. If their entire portfolio has less than 90% occupancy, then that's a problem. 90% is generally the standard in the industry. The renewal rate percentage, if people are moving out and they have a renewal rate of less than 70%, again, we have a big red flag, right? That 30% that people move, I get it, right? Jobs happen, you get transferred, you get laid off, you retire, whatever the case may be, you want to move to Florida. Terrific. Okay. That should only happen about 30% of the time on a large portfolio. If their portfolio has a renewal rate of less than 70%, again, red flag. I need 3 investor references. How many counties they work in? If it's a large number of counties, again, they're spread thin. That's a problem. Do they provide full monthly reporting? Now, this is not, here's your statement. an email automatically goes out and says your statement is now available. We're talking about, hey, am I getting a phone call on the 1st of the month going, hey, bud, you can expect all of your rent coming in on the 12th through the 15th. That's communication to me. That's the report I'm talking about. If it's in email, even better, because that's something I could send to my bookkeeper and say, hey, we're expecting rents from all of these properties. We have 3 vacancies, whatever. Okay. And then what reports do they provide? I'm looking for owner's report, cash flow, balance sheet, profit loss, minimum annually, owner's report monthly. If you are using something like Stesso or Buildium, you can pull those reports on your own. If you're using Appfolio, you have to ask somebody for them. No bueno. I don't like it. And then, do they have any performance guarantees? If all of your people decide to get up and move out, who's held responsible? We just kind of went through that in the beginning, right? Who gets paid if your property manager screws up? The people that I work with, I have an equity share. I don't get paid when they don't get paid. Unlike a regular property manager who is a paid employee, every time they make a mistake, they get paid. Anyway, so there are the 6 steps: finding, fixing, or finding, funding, flipping. Yeah, finding, funding, fixing, flipping, landing a tenant, and keeping the tenant. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I got. There are the 6 steps that I use. And I know I flew through that really quickly. If you have any questions, check out budevans.com. Okay. All of my social media sites are on there. I look forward to seeing you guys online. I also have a YouTube channel. It's the Aim High Properties. And then we have a podcast at the Aim High Podcast. That's pretty much all I got, JJ.
But that was fantastic, my friend. Yeah, we got a question here. So let's bring Sean Baxter on with us. Let's see.
Okay.
Here. Sean, you are on with Bud Evans. What's your question?
Hey, Bud, that was amazing. First of all, I want to thank you for your service that you've done for us, and so we can live in the country we live in. But I am going through all of those things right now with multiple properties out of state. As far, I could ask 50 questions, but I'll narrow it down. As far as like Section 8 stuff, I've got a property manager that does exactly what you said there, but the Section 8 tenant, it's my first one I've ever had. I guess on a voucher that this is in Minnesota, but
okay.
The voucher, they pay a portion, Section 8 pays a portion. Do you know about that?
Yes, we use a voucher system in New Jersey as well. Very similar.
Okay, so the tenant pays part and Section 8 pays part.
Yes.
I thought the voucher amount, the Section 8 paid what that voucher is for, but that's not true.
No.
Is there a way? She moved in a year ago and has never paid rent. Mm-hmm. So is there a way that they can go back in and negotiate how much Section 8 pays and how much they pay?
They cannot. However, you can contact, I call them the handler. Okay. Whoever the point of contact is at Section 8, call them and let them know what's going on and ask them what your methods are. Okay. Do you have to, if you can evict them for that, first off? Second, will they do it for you? Because it's their client, right? Well, and listen, I'm going to tell you, you want to see somebody change their tune real quickly. Tell them that you've been in contact with their handler and you're going to pull their voucher. You're essentially rendering them homeless. It's a shock to their system, and hopefully it shocks them in the right way and they don't just up and move out in the middle of the night, which that would actually might be in your best interest, honestly. But yeah, I would talk to their handler. That's kind of what I do. I have a direct line to Mr. Brown at Trenton. He is a very nice guy, very slow, but a very nice guy. And we do work together a lot. So I've gotten a lot quicker answers than the average Joe, but at the same time, like, definitely reach out to someone. You got to find those answers. And if your property manager is not doing it, then you definitely want to have a conversation with them about, I call it a come to Jesus meeting. Right.
Yeah.
Let them
see I've reached out to them. They said that they basically, I didn't ask if they can evict them. They told me that I can go and do it and everything like that. And yes, I've got the upstairs tenant that they are fighting. So they said, we're going to clean house. And the other one's just kind of left at the end of the month, no notice. So now I'm at like a $12,000 renovation, fixing up to be able to rent it. And yes, they get paid on all of that twice. So, okay.
Yes.
I'll be in contact with you for
definitely. I would, and a couple of things, definitely check out that RLL Insure website. What they're going to ask is that you get your property manager to go through the training as well. Good luck with that. What I would definitely say is that you have your property manager understand that if there is something more than normal wear and tear, a $12,000 turn on a property is a lot. So I would definitely want an invoice, line item invoice, like no kidding, like in depth, line by line, review that thing and find out why it's 12,000, because paint doesn't cost that much, dude.
Oh yeah, no. I've got line by line, but I mean, part of that is I'm 2 months making mortgage payments. Mm-hmm. Some of it's carpet, some of it's paint, some of it's new appliance because now the stove's not also not, and it just keeps adding up, plus their fee, plus everything.
Yep.
But can I add that insurance with an attendant pre-existing?
Oh yeah. Yeah, because you're just insuring the property, not the person.
Gotcha.
Right? Okay. Reach out to me. I'll get you in contact with a guy over there and we'll talk about that later. Okay. We'll get you.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Mikkel, you are on with Bud Evans. What's your question?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Bud, for a nice presentation. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. What was it? 2 days ago we talked.
Yeah. I have two things. First, can you share also the questions that you are asking to the property management company?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I failed to throw that into the thing here. Yeah, sure thing.
But my main thing is regarding the rent increase. I have a tenant. He pays $1,800, and basically 5% is $90, so $1,890. It seems to me quite a lot. What is your view on this? And I'm also I think comparing to I'm in the little bit higher rank. What's your view?
Yeah, I'll tell you honestly. Don't be the biggest fish in the pond. Okay. Be like the second biggest fish in the pond. So if you're looking at the rents in that area and the rents don't support 1,900, don't raise the rent. You want to keep that guy. If he's paying every month, I just had this conversation. It's one of the reasons that I'm like, sorry, guy, I can't do business with you. If they're paying rent every month and you're cash flowing, why would you screw that up? So you got to weigh all of the options before you make a decision, especially if like 1,800 is the average and you're going to raise rents to 1,890 and everybody else is still paying 1,800 and there are vacancies in the area. Guys, he might move out for $90. You don't know. Right. So check it out. Make sure that like if everybody else, and this is why I'm at 1950 in Section 8. Like Sean was just talking about, there's a portion that they pay and there's a portion that Section 8 pays. In this case, they'll pay the entirety of $1,950. I don't have to worry about her making a check. But if I charge her $2,100, now she's got to come up with $200. And she told me I can make that. And my response was, take care of the house.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
Next year, if we have to raise rents a little bit and you want to kick in, we'll revisit that next year. But for right now, that's all you got.
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe $40, 2.2% or something like that. Something. Let's say smaller, but just something, and let's see their reaction. And I fully agree. I don't want to lose this guy or this person because I think that the cash flow is very very nice. But still, just to see at least something small to see. To a little bit, see the reaction. Maybe for $40 or maybe $30, they will not leave. And for sure, for me, it will, of course, it'll help.
I had a tenant that was paying $1,200 a month. Rates in the area were $1,400. I didn't raise her rents for 2 years. And then I told her, look, okay, property taxes went up, insurance went up, got to raise your rent $50 a month. every month, and then next year and the year after, you might see another $50 raise. Does that work for you? And like real quick, she's like, okay, so we're at 1,250 now. We'll be at 1,400 in 2 years. I'm like, yeah, which means you're still going to be paying less than you would be paying if you were living down the street. And she was like, done. Okay, great. Sign here. It's a 3-year lease with a $50 kicker. So every year she gets an increase of $50 a month.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Weigh it out and talk to your tenants, right? We team concept, right? I want to keep you in the house. Do you want to stay in the house? Great. Okay. This is what's going on with inflation. This is what's going on with insurance. This is what's going on with electric, with gas. I understand that you're getting burnt because you're using a boiler. It's a gas boiler. So now gas has gone up, electric's gone up. It's more expensive. So I'm not going to kill you on the rent raise this year. But at the same time, you need to understand that property taxes also went up 5%. So I've got to increase your rent 5%. Everybody else is trying 10, man, because, I have one property manager that went 15% and I got a 60% vacancy like that. 60, not 16, 60% vacancy. It happens, right? So be very careful at how much you raise at one time. Just stay with the market. Be reasonable.
Yeah, thank you.
I wanted to ask you about rent raises as well, now that Mikhail's brought that up. You're in residential, you're not in commercial, is that correct? Or are you doing commercial as well?
Yeah, no. So we're transitioning into larger properties. We're looking now for 20 units and down. So between 5 and 20 units, we're trying to pick those up left and right because it saves us a lot of aggravation with vacancy issues. So if you have one single family home and it's vacant, you now have 100% vacancy. But if I have a 6 unit or an 8 unit or a 10 unit and I'm missing one, let's say it's a 10 unit because it's easy math. I can do that in my head. Then we have a 10% vacancy where it's still at 90% occupancy, right? So that's kind of why we're looking for that. And I can create my buy box, deal with smaller level brokers who aren't pushing the 124 unit, 150 unit properties. They're more willing to talk to me, and we're going for mom and pop type operations because we know that there are efficiencies to be made and we know that they're guaranteed to be under rented. We can have those conversations and we can stabilize that property usually between 6 months and a year and increase the rents to market. And then the value of the property goes up.
So that's multifamily, but are you doing like retail commercial type of stuff?
No, I don't. I haven't gotten into that.
That's what I've got going on, and I'm dealing with rent increases as well and tenants and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to get your take on that. Usually I'm looking to keep the increases moderate.
Yeah.
I deal more with a 3% increase, and I actually build that into the lease.
Yeah.
First year it's this, second year it's that, third year it's this. Mm-hmm. So that I don't have to come back and say we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's clearly in the lease. So
yeah, we're on the other side of that with the hair salon, where we do have a good landlord, thank goodness. And I told him if he ever wants to sell the shopping center, I'd be more than happy to make an offer. So
there you go. Polo, what's your question? You're on with Bud Evans. What's your question?
Hey, what's up, Bud? Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you.
It's a pleasure, man.
I just had a quick question as far as, when doing BRRRR and with the current interest rates and it going up, I tend to hear that, the BRRRR strategy is dead or it's dying. I just want to kind of get your thoughts on that and how you're kind of monitoring through that, storm, I guess.
I'll bet you $1 per door it's not.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, man, it's not. You just got to look at the right market. You got to buy at the right price. The interest rates going up. I just had Tyler Goebel, who is he does analytics for the United States military. He's a U.S. Marine, but he studies economics. And he's going to be on my podcast the last week of December, in fact. So definitely check that out. But he's going over exactly what the outlook is for interest rates next year and the economic outlook for inflation as well. But in talking to him, here's what I know. Even if interest rates go up, if you're doing your math and your math all works out and you're still cash flowing, buy the doggone property, right? If you can cash flow right now, if you can cash flow a couple of $100 right now and you renovate to the point where you're not going to have any major capital expenses coming up in the next 3 to 5 years, then you can raise rents up to get to that $300, $400, $500 mark over the next 5, 6, 7 years until whatever maintenance you've deferred comes due, and then you've got to pay that. So set some stuff aside, make sure you're calculating for that. I usually, so when I started, I was calculating at 5% for vacancy, 5% for maintenance, and 5% for capital expenses. And I was putting it in its own account. So 15% of my total rent was going in there. 8% is what I was paying to the property manager. And I still do, but I'm taking over all that stuff anyway and charging myself 10 for whatever reason. And then, but what I would tell you is, as long as the numbers work, buy it. When the interest rates come back down again, if they come back down again, refinance it. But here's what I'm seeing, and this is what Tyler and I were talking about. Over the course of time, interest rates for the last 5 years have been stupid low, not normal, like absolutely an aberration of economics. They were put that way because the United States government was hiding stuff that it was doing monetarily, and the Fed was helping. So trying to keep inflation at a ridiculous rate, which was like 1.2% in our area. So, and now it's high, but when I got into this 4 years ago, interest rates were at 6.5 for commercial loans, which that was normal. That's been that way. You have the spikes in 1980 and you have the spikes right now, but for the most part, interest rates are between 5 and 7% on average. So this is not unheard of. This is not, unheard of times. It's just that we got spoiled with 2.85 and 3.25% interest rates on refinances. So just keep that in mind. Your numbers still have to work. You still got to do your due diligence. And as long as that works out, man, buy now and refinance if they come back down again. And if not, then you can compound your cash and use a snowball and pay off your mortgages one at a time. If you don't like the interest rate, then, and then you're making a lot more money with you're not paying the banks anymore.
So, Bud, just want to touch on a little something you said there about as long as you're cash flowing. I mean, it's, I've got into the Sub-2 community with Pace Morby, and it's all, Pace says it all the time. It's not about cash flow. Doesn't matter what you're buying it for. Doesn't matter what's going on. As long as you're cash flowing, that's something I just constantly am hearing, that's the important factor. Things aren't going to change. Rates are going to change. Values are going to change.
Yep.
And then as things change down the line, then we can alter our course. We could sell if we need to. We could refinance. But just a matter of, are those properties cash flowing?
Absolutely. And you can pivot. I hear people that buy for appreciation. And I just have a real simple question. What do you do if the market turns or the price of the house goes down, or if you're not cash flowing and then you have vacancy, what do you do? So cash flow is king. Stockpile some cash. I would definitely recommend getting to like 20,000 if you can, depending on the number of properties you have. Because here's the thing, and this is what I look at. I look at what are your capital expenses: a new roof, an HVAC system. They're kind of like the big things, right? You're not going to have to rewire a house. That's not going to happen, right? You're not going to have to replace all of the plumbing in an entire house. You're going to have two real big ticket items, which is the roof or the HVAC system, and replacing that kind of stuff, which is like 10,000. So if you keep like 15,000 in an account, after that, man,
you're good. Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. And that's another thing I kind of face with my commercial properties as well, is looking at some of the major expenditures and having enough there and seeing what the duration is between the last roof or the last HVAC. Gail Unruh, you are on with Bud Evans. What's your question?
Mr. Evans, how are you doing?
How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, thank you. Hey, quick question. You were saying as long as it's cash flowing, go ahead and buy it.
Yep.
And that sounds wonderful, but what do you allow for your cushion there? Are you looking at a specific dollar amount, specific percent? Just to make sure that if crap happens, you don't lose the property.
Yeah, and that's a great question. I'll be honest with you. Right now, if you are renovating, because I'm a BRRRR guy, right? So I'm renovating that property. There are 6 things that I'm going to tell you that will kill you. They are your roof, your windows, your foundation, Mikhail's like, his eyes just sparked. He's heard this like 9 billion times. Roof, windows, foundation, electric, plumbing, and mechanicals. That's your HVAC system, right? HVAC and air conditioning. If all of those are taken care of and recently renovated, let's say that, you know, you're not deferring that maintenance because God forbid, hypothetically, let's say that your boiler, I'm telling you something that just happened. I got a clean bill of health on a boiler and then it just decided to go. So you want it with an $8,000 nut? Well, we have the money to cover that $8,000 nut because we have that set aside. But if you're going in there and you're renovating like 33 Oak, which has a new HVAC system, has a brand new roof, it's got brand new windows in it. You know, the electric is good. The plumbing is good. We put in a 150 amp breaker box. So, you know, that's all good to go. We have, you know, real nice manifold in there with some PEX tubes for PEX plumbing. So that's all good. What's the worst thing that can happen? Your dishwasher breaks. Oh, wow. Kill me. $600. Here's my American Express card, right? You're okay with that. So if you're at $100 and you're appreciating, and then next year you raise the rent 5%, your cash flow I'm talking about, not your rent. Okay. Let's just say that. So if let's say market rents are $1,500 and your total expenses, all of your expenses, including your set asides, remember we're including that 15% set aside, 5% vacancy, 5% capital expense, 5% maintenance, plus your property management, and you have a cash flow of $100, you should be good to go because you're putting away that 15% for that rainy day. You're cash flowing that $100. You got those 6 things taken care of and you know you're in good working order. You shouldn't really run into a problem. And if you have your tenants for 5 or 6 years, you're going to have increases for that 5-year period. And let's say by the time you get there, you're at $500 a month, $6,000 a year. You know, it's not a bad thing. Something happens, you should already have, you know, I don't know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in the bank waiting in your whoopsie account just in case something bad does happen in 5 years. So that's my opinion.
Okay, I think I'm failing on the put away part, but I will fix that. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Recommendation: check out Profit First Accounting. There's a book. Matter of fact, I have it here somewhere. It's Michael Michalowicz. And it's, I don't care if you have one operating expense account and you have one account for those 3 items that we talked about, vacancy, maintenance, and capital expense. And then you have one account that's just labeled profit. Here's the deal. Every time that you get income, put 1% into that profit account. First, before you do anything else, on the 1st and 15th of every month, every time you get income into your account, put 1% away and just let it build. Take it quarterly, put it in your pocket, pay yourself out, do whatever you got to do with it. Right. And you're going to find it's not Pythagorean. It's Parkinson's law, which if you use it as time, Parkinson's law says that if I give you 8 weeks to accomplish a task, you're going to do it in 8 weeks. But if I give you 2 days, you're going to accomplish it in 2 days. Parkinson's law related to finance is this. If I tell you this is going to cost me $1,500 and you need to come up with that in 2 days, you're going to come up with $1,500 in 2 days. If I tell you got to do it in 2 months, you're going to come up with it in 2 months. If I tell you to put away 1% in your profit first accounting, and then your operating expenses are $1,499, right? You're going to find a way to put away the 1%, and you're going to find a way to make that $1,499 stick in that account, in that other account. Work it out, figure it out, so to speak.
Well, what I've done wasn't horrible, but it wasn't perfect either. We just took the amount of the mortgage out because the mortgage right now is in my personal name.
Okay.
Probably need to get it out of there, but for now it's in my personal name. The place is making us close to 30%, so it's not horrible.
Okay.
But it's a real small house. So we got about $5,000 saved up. And one of the things we did is we had a problem with another house. So we took money out of that bank account to fix a different house. Or it would have been more than $5,000 in there right now.
Okay.
So that was kind of relying on the rental to fix a flip. And that probably wasn't a good thing.
Yeah. Flips are capital drainers. I have 2 of them going on right now. And no matter how well you plan, there's always something that comes up. No matter how well you set aside contingency, there's always something that comes up. So, when I sell these things, I'll make myself whole. I get it, right? That's what your thought process is, because everybody goes through it. I don't care how seasoned you are.
But it's been too long on the sale thing. You always think, oh, I'm going to sell it in 4 months or 5 months, or you're looking at it going, okay, this is a lot of work. This is going to be a 6-month project or whatever. Yeah. And then something comes up and it's 8 months now. Mm-hmm. It's just every time. And it's, you almost have to have a, well, darn it, let's just fix it and move on attitude. If you don't, you're going to die a heart attack doing flips.
That's why I don't do them anymore. I have 2 because my acquisitions team bought them, and we're completely moving into rentals. We just picked these up because I needed to keep my contractors happy. Yeah,
I seem to do okay on the money side of it, but it's always waiting for that paycheck.
It is.
So,
yeah, man.
Well, we're flying into 2 hours here. Boy, it just kind of flies when we're having fun,
right?
But want to wrap it up. But before I do, Bud, my group's a networking group. I kind of go through this at the end of the calls. For those people that are new investors, maybe experienced investors, and now getting into the investment circle where we're all at, what is the importance to the investor, new or old, of networking to build their business, or maybe in particular joining a group like this, from your opinion?
Yeah. Networking is everything, man. When I got into this, I thought that swinging a hammer was all I was going to really have to worry about, or managing a contractor here and there, but it's not. The value in networking cannot be measured. It is immeasurable, but I will tell you that it's 99%. I sound like I'm putting a measurement on it, but I'm not. It's not even 99%. It's higher. It's more than that. The more people that you know, the more people that you become comfortable with, the more people that you become friendly with, you start to realize that this entire industry is about collaboration more than it is competition. Captain's on here, Yasser, right? He lives literally 2 counties away from me. And I bought a house from him. He's like, hey, I can't do this one. Do you want it? I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. It's in Trenton. It's my thing. I'll do it. Right. Boom. Wholesale fee. Great. No problem. It's who generates as much wealth as actually doing the deals. Right. So, you can make, especially when you start talking about commercial, oh my goodness. Right. Limited partnerships, and Jersey in the house. Thanks, Kat. So I can't stress it enough, JJ. First off, you are the man when it comes to networking. I talk about you all the time, dude. Seriously, and I send my students over here too. So, because this is the place to go. Other coaches as well. So, you can't network enough. In fact, I started the Aim High podcast specifically to put information out there so that I can get and have conversations with really cool people, maybe who are definitely, I'm looking for people that are even more seasoned than I am. And I'm looking for people who are just starting out too. So guys, if you've done a couple of flips and you've had a really bad one and you've had a really good one, or you're working on your third, or you have plans to increase, reach out, let me know. I'm waiting for Yasser to finish his Calendly link to book his thing. But guys, networking is key in this business. The more people that you talk to, the more success you'll find you have.
Now, but if people want to get a hold of you, is the best way through your website, Instagram, Facebook? What's your preferred method if people want to reach out to you?
I'm on all of them, but the best way to get in touch with me is using budevans.com or checking me out on Facebook at Bud Evans. That's
and
it.
Then, and to follow this up, to let people know, you are also doing personal coaching. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. So if you go to budevans.com, it will show you that I do personal coaching. Plus I also coach for Tariq Al Musa. So either way, if you need some help or you're trying to get through the process and you're getting stuck, reach out. We'll help.
Fantastic. Hey guys, if you're watching the video now on YouTube, please like Bud's video, and in the comments, please put something in the comments about how great Bud is and how much you like the video. And if you're on the call right now, don't disappear. We're going to go really soon to the breakout rooms with live networking, be making real life relationships. And again, please continue to join us for more on Flip Side Up with JJ. We'll have more videos coming up in the future. You can join my networking group, which is JJ's Mastermind Networking. Just go to my website, jjazizian.com. Right on the front, you'll see a little pulsating button that says register now. But, BudEvans.com, jjazizian.com. Look us both up. We're here to help you guys. So on behalf of Bud and myself, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Aim high.